The Girl with a Clock for a Heart by Peter Swanson is the author's debut, I believe. I recently read his book, The Kind Worth Killing, which is a homage to Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train. That was a dynamite thriller. I gave it a really high score of 4.5 out of 5. So, of course, you know, after checking out that book, I want to read all of his thrillers. I believe he has 6. The 7th coming out next year in 2021. So this is his debut, The Girl with a Clock for a Heart. I noticed that at the beginning of the book, he mentions Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. So immediately I thought, okay, he mentioned Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train at the beginning of The Kind Worth Killing as a way of saying that this book is going to be a homage to that other book. But I've not read Rebecca, so I wasn't sure what I was getting. I'm pretty sure that's like a gothic thriller, mystery thriller. So this book wasn't like that at all, though. This book is about George Foss. He is a man in his 40s. He's an accountant for a magazine. He lives a very boring, humdrum life. You know, he has an on and off again a relationship with Irene. She's like a woman that, you know, he dates once in a while. It's comfortable. You know, they break up once in a while, but then they get back together. He's not really, doesn't have much ambition in his life. You know, he's got a cat. He lives alone. Until one day he's having lunch or dinner with Irene, having drinks with her, and he thinks he sees someone from his past, Leanna Dector. She is a blonde bombshell from his past, and she says, "George, I need a favor." And he automatically goes, "Sure, let's get into this." And so begins our sordid tale. So the book takes 2 perspectives. The first one is the present day George getting roped up in her sort of doing a favor for her, getting roped into a situation involving money, of course. And then, of course, there's also the other half, which is flashbacks from when George first met Leanna. She was they were in college together, but she was doing something else, and she hasn't had the most clean past. So, you know, obviously he repeatedly says to himself that he shouldn't get involved with her in present day, but the flashbacks show, you know, how much of impact that she had on him in order for him to, you know, basically jump at her beck and call. So I have to say that I really did not like this book. I was really surprised because I really enjoyed The Kind Worth Killing a lot, but this book, it was missing like that sizzle, you know, that sort of the heat, you know, like the front of the book cover. Dennis Lehane calls it a twisty, sexy electric thrill ride. I didn't get that from the book at all. I mean, it's got the characters, it's got the plot, but I didn't like the flashbacks. The flashbacks were awful, and they do give you a little bit more, you know, insight into Leanna as a person, but it's missing like that sizzle, that sort of, you know, you know, scintillating sort of vibe, you know, that like, you know, this woman, if she came into your life, you would drop everything to go back to her. But that I didn't get that from him. You know, he felt like a real loser, just sort of like, you know, so bored with his life that anyone would have, like, you know, got him out of that funk. Like if one of his friends said, "Hey George, let's go rob a bank," he'd be like, "You know what? Sure, I'm so bored. Let's go do that." That's what it kind of felt like. The characters were very thinly developed anyway. George Foss is, he seems a little bit too everyman, very boring on purpose. You know, he doesn't seem to have a lot going on. Leanna is like the classic femme fatale. Yeah, that's another thing, the tone of this book. I thought they'd be going for, I think they described it as a Hitchcockian sort of, where is it? Hitchcockian. Yeah, no, that's not him. He calls it like Raymond Chandler, but that's, someone said Hitchcockian. Yeah, the inside cover says, "An atmospheric tale of romantic noir with shades of Hitchcock about a man who was swept into a vortex of irresistible passion and murder when an old love mysteriously reappears." So I didn't get that from the book at all, honestly. It, you know, I didn't like the flashbacks, but like they should have made this book a straight up like 40s or 50s period piece. You know, instead it takes place during present day. And there's like multiple points of the story where I think George is like wondering why that guy, you know, wasn't worried that he wouldn't whip out his cell phone and call the police, because, you know, that could have ended things immediately. You know, like that's kind of like a big thing with thrillers or horrors nowadays. You know, when you go, oh no, there's a man outside my door, you just pick up your cell phone and dial 911. Boom, police are there within 10 minutes. But, you know, you can't call it a Hitchcock-like thriller and have it during present day. I think the biggest thing I didn't like about this book was the ending. The ending killed it for me. Honestly, about 250 pages in, the main climax happens, and you're sort of like, oh, that was okay, you know, it wasn't too bad, I enjoyed that. But then it kept going, and it kept like winding down to like another final twist, and then it ended with like a non-ending, sort of like open-ended BS kind of thing where like the author was like, oh, I need to have a little bit more, I feel like I didn't do enough, and that just killed the book for me. It was awful. It was an awful ending, probably one of the worst endings I've ever read. And so the thin characters, the plot was okay. Like the plot was okay, but that ending pretty much killed the entire book for me. And I felt like the book was missing, you know, that sort of edge. You know, it's supposed to be like this sexy. What did he say? It's supposed to be a twisty, sexy, electric thrill ride, but it didn't feel like that at all. It felt really mundane, and I was able to see the characters in my mind, but you know, I honestly felt like it needed a little bit more oomph, you know, especially because it felt like more of a crime thriller than a thriller, and it really didn't have much going on in terms of, like, you know, scandal or, you know, thrill. So I give The Girl with the Clock for a Heart a harsh 1.5 out of 5.